Friends, we have been seeing some mixed messaging from Trump since yesterday. That is, while giving an award ceremony, yesterday he mentioned that he was not going to have a ceasefire. He's going to wind down, but there's going to be no ceasefire.
I think we've won. We've knocked out their Navy, their Air Force. We've knocked out their anti-aircraft. We've knocked out everything. We're roaming free. From a military standpoint, all they're doing is clogging up the strait. But from a military standpoint, they're finished.
Then in the tweet last night, he mentioned that we have achieved all our objectives and we are winding down. And in fact, he's going to leave the Hormuz to allies, that is the Europeans, and to the Chinese and Japanese, etc., who get most of their oil from that, and they should protect the Hormuz. And basically, he's kind of achieved all his objectives. So at the same time, he's saying, I'm winding down. And a few hours before that, he was saying there's going to be no ceasefire. That is, in a way, the operation is going to continue. So why this mixed messaging? Similar mixed messaging has come from Israel as well. That is, Netanyahu also mentioned that we have won a victory, we have done everything, we've destroyed them. And at the same time, Katz today, his defense minister, says that we'll continue bombing Iran and we have many more objectives, etc., etc. So I'm speculating that this mixed messaging is for at least 2-3 reasons. The first is to signal to the oil markets and to the stock market that the war is going to end soon. Because the oil market is moving in the wrong direction, that is up, and the stock market again is moving in the wrong direction, that is down. And he's trying, both Trump in a way is trying to reassure both of them that this war is coming to an end. It could also be a way of throwing off Iran. That is, by this kind of ambiguity where he flips and flops, he might be preparing a small ground operation to clear Hormuz. And when he says that my allies will take care of it, etc., he knows clearly no allies are coming. That the Europeans have also made it pretty clear, and so have the Japanese and the Chinese, that none of them are going to come to clear the Hormuz. So he knows that. Now he has only 3 options in front of him. The first option is to clear Hormuz by force, and that has its own costs, and I'll come to that. The second one is to declare victory and leave, but he can't do that. And the third one is to negotiate with the Iranians, which he finds distasteful. Now, look at the situation. Why can't he just leave, declare victory, and leave? The reason is the Iranians are still not destroyed, at least not completely. They are still capable of firing missiles, both at their GCC neighbors, as well as at Israel. If you have seen overnight, they have fired some very powerful missiles and caused damage there. So they'll continue to do that. You can't leave them. They'll continue to hold GCC hostage and all the oil installations there. That is the refineries, the oil and gas stations, the oil and gas fields, etc., hostage. And they can continue to block Hormuz. They still have that capacity. So Trump can't just leave, because if he leaves, as I said, the Iranians, that is Mustafa Khamenei and the regime, the IRGC, can say that American ships will not be allowed back in. That is, their bases will become inoperable. No more American bases. This is one of their conditions. The second condition is that, of course, that they don't want just a ceasefire. They want an end to all military operations, so that there's not some continuous back and forth and they keep getting attacked. No, they're not ready for ceasefire. They want an end to the war. The third is they want reparations for whatever damage has been caused to Iran. Compensation. Fourth, which is a proposal which is going through their parliament and has been presented to parliament, is that Iran is going to charge a tax for any oil shipment to pass through the Hormuz. And that money will be used to reconstruct Iran. So Iran is not, I mean, there are some other maximalist demands also, which I don't think will be possible. That is establishment of a Palestinian state, and Israel should end its attack on Lebanon, end operations in Lebanon, for which I'm sure Iran is willing to compromise. But these other demands, Iran will continue to hold. So the US just can't leave by declaring victory. Donald Trump also knows that. So is he in the shade preparing a kind of a ground operation? Because there are some Marines on the way, but they're not a lot, 2,500 Marines on the way. Maybe there are a couple of thousand other US ground forces in the region. These are not sufficient to clear and hold Hormuz, which is a large territory. Leave alone taking Karg Island also. The other option is to take that island from which Iran gets most of its oil revenue. It's a terminal. Oil is not produced there, but it's a terminal where ships come and dock. Uh, Also, even if US was to clear Hormuz, there is still about 1,000 kilometers between Hormuz and the Iran-Iraq border. That is, Iran still has 1,000 kilometers of coastline available from which to fire um, drones, missiles, speedboats, etc. America is showing some intent of controlling Hormuz because it has started using very heavy bombing, about 5,000-pound bombs, 2,500, 2,400 kilo bombs are being dropped on the caves and the suspected sites because the Hormuz coastline on the Iranian side consists of cliffs and big mountains. So they're trying to destroy the caves there, which could house these missiles. So some people are speculating that this softening is being done for a ground operation, and that's why Trump is trying to create ambiguity. But as I said, it's not enough to just hold Hormuz. And even taking Hormuz and the 3, 4 islands, small islands around it in the strait, there are a few islands. Taking that will require some casualties for the US Marines, despite heavy air cover, despite helicopter gunships, despite drones, and all of that. They will still take some casualties. And taking Karg Island is even more difficult because they'll have to sail through the Hormuz under fire, go almost 800 or 700, 800 kilometers in, and then take Karg Island itself, where again they'll face resistance. And even if they take Karg Island, there's no guarantee that the Iranians will just automatically comply, and negotiate a deal. They could continue fighting. So none of the ground options look really attractive. And the third one, which I had mentioned in my previous video about launching special forces in order to capture that 450 kilos, 440 kilos of 60% enriched uranium from Isfahan and other sites. That is even more dangerous. In fact, I think that is the least likely outcome because US and Israeli special forces will take heavy casualties because they would have to travel about 1,000 kilometers inland by helicopter and plane and all of that. And even with full air cover and full air supremacy and drones and fighter planes and gunships, it'll be very difficult for them to hold back the IRGC, which is waiting for them there. Plus, then digging out that 450 kilograms and then transporting it. I mean, it's virtually impossible. No such operation has ever been done in history, and the casualties that it'll require is politically unfeasible, both for Trump and for Netanyahu. So none of the ground options are attractive. And the only option left is therefore to actually negotiate with the Iranians. But that will require Trump to eat humble pie. He'll have to humble himself. And the negotiation will not be easy because Iran's fighting capabilities are still intact. Now, we don't know how long this regime will survive because the regime has also taken a lot of punishment. The Iranians have taken a lot of heavy bombing. And in fact, there seems to be some disarray within Iran as well. And so we don't know how long the regime will last, but if the regime lasts, then US has to negotiate with them because they have shown they are capable of blocking the Hormuz, attacking the oil facilities, holding the region to ransom, and still attack Israel quite hard. But here again, the very maximalist demands and even the more moderate demands will be unpalatable to Trump. That is reparations. That is a complete end to all conflict, which will allow Iran, if it wants, to sprint towards a nuclear weapon because it already has 60% enriched uranium. That would be a situation that would be intolerable for Israel and possibly even for the US. In fact, if it's intolerable for Israel, it's automatically intolerable for the US. Plus, Iran may make certain conditions which are unacceptable to the GCC countries and to the US, like no more US bases, that it will not allow back American ships into the Gulf. As I said, start charging a tariff for all oil shipments at Hormuz. So, as I had also explained in my previous video, Trump is highly frustrated and he's lashing out at his NATO allies, at his European allies, and Japan, China, etc. He wants them to take the burden and he doesn't want to take the political cost, because the longer this conflict stretches, as I had explained, the higher oil price will go, the more American voters will get angry, the more his base also will get angry, the more likelihood of casualties, and the higher chance of the AI bubble busting, because interest rates will either remain static or rise, which will reduce the profitability of all the AI companies, because of which the American stock market might crash. And if it does so, there'll be a global financial crisis. Trump is fully aware of all of these things. And he knows the market, both the oil market and the stock market, are waiting only until the end of March. They're waiting because after the initial few days, Trump had announced that the operations will finish within 4 weeks. He's looking for a short operations. If it extends beyond 4 weeks, you will see a massive reaction in the markets. Trump knows that too. So he's frustrated. There are no easy way out. Physical ground fighting will require both political costs and human costs and economic costs, because it will delay settlement. Negotiating with Iran is even more humiliating and unpalatable. And the third option of declaring victory and leaving will mean that Iran will be in charge in the Gulf. And that would also be both humiliating for Trump, because objectives will not be achieved, but also unpalatable both to the Gulf Arab allies, to Israel, and ultimately to the US also, because it may end up losing its GCC bases. So, friends, there is no good way out, but keep watching and I'll keep bringing you analysis. But please do like and subscribe my channel and share whatever content that you may like. Until next time.